Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today we want to share with you some homemade, affordable, but really awesome gift ideas that you can make out of things that you hopefully already have lying around for friends and family this Christmas.
Yeah, we at the heart of everything, we want to go back to just the reason for this season. And for us as Christians, this is the time of the year we take aside to celebrate specifically the first coming of Jesus. And it's really easy to get caught up in the consumerism and the flashy, big, expensive extravaganzas that Christmas has commercialized and become a part of now. I'm not saying that we don't enjoy looking at lights and decorating and eating Christmas cookies and giving gifts. We do enjoy those things. But we've been very intentional as we're raising our family and growing our family to try to create as much of an awareness around things. So we want to make sure that Scout always understands the reason for this season, for Christmas, isn't just gifts. It's Jesus, and it's God, the ultimate gift that God gave to us. So
I grew up with it a lot too. My family did a make it, bake it, sow it, grow it, or kill it, grill it. So basically, it had to be handmade, and there's just so much thought and love that goes into a gift that is handmade by you. And when you give a gift like that, I mean, you don't want to do something cheap that nobody else would appreciate. Make sure it's something you want to bring home.
That's my barometer. Is if we're gonna go to a white elephant gift exchange, or we're gonna give somebody else a gift, I always ask, would I be excited to get this gift? Like, do I want to try to steal?
Would you steal it back?
Would I steal this gift back at a white elephant gift exchange or a Secret Santa thing? And so that's my personal thing.
But also, most of us have a finite budget in today's world too, and I think it goes a long way to not be wasteful or extravagant in maybe resources that you don't have or could be put to a better use. So a lot of these things are going to be made out of things that you may already have lying around.
Or that are very cost effective.
Yes, or you could pick up at a local health food store, which I did have to do for a couple of things. But we're excited to share these with you. We hope you like them. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna make is a candy cane body butter. And I love like seasonal scents for different body products, but most of them are not a quality that I wanna bring into my home. They're filled with perfumes and fragrances and things that can just be really harmful to your hormone and endocrine production. But I found some recipes and I've been experimenting over the last about year making some homemade body products like face creams or serums, just different things. And they all turned out really good. So I'm excited about this one. It's the first time I'm making it, but I think it's gonna turn out great. These are the two that I would not have had in my house normally, so I did have to buy these. But this is cocoa butter, comes in pellets, so you can use it to make homemade white chocolate, like a lot of other things. And then shea butter, which is also really good for different skin products. But you're gonna do a half cup of the cocoa butter and a half cup of the shea butter. And I'm gonna put it into this bowl here that is a double boiler. The next thing you're gonna add is a half cup of coconut oil. And then I'm gonna add in a half cup of olive oil. If you've never done a double boiler before, it's where you take a smaller pot and you fill it with water, and then we're gonna turn that on and get that boiling. Then you place another bowl inside that will just kind of gently melt the products that are inside the bowl. If you've ever made like a chocolate ganache or something that can burn really easy, this is a great way to do it. We try not to use our microwave in our house as much, so this is kind of my method for getting all of these butters and oils melted right now. Now, while that's melting, I'll just show you the last few ingredients that we won't add until after everything is all melted together here. But because it's gonna be a candy cane scent, I'm gonna do a little bit of vanilla extract just because I think vanilla is like the highlight of the Christmas season. And then some peppermint essential oil. One other thing to mention about peppermint essential oil is if you plan on eating it, because we do add this to a lot of our hot chocolates or smoothies, different things, make sure you're buying a brand that is food grade. A lot of brands are food grade nowadays, but you just want to make sure you do your research. You don't just want to go to Walmart or Meijer and grab a really cheap one and then think that you can eat it. Everything in my particular recipe can be eaten because that is always a prerequisite for my house, but this is the doTERRA brand, but I also know Young Living you can consume as well. And the last thing that's totally optional is some food coloring. I wanted to add in a little bit of non-toxic red food coloring because I think it's really fun and it just kind of highlights that it's a candy cane peppermint scent. And I just think it'll be a good visual for what we're gonna be putting on your body. Okay, so now that everything's all melted, you can see it's all become one nice homogeneous mixture. I'm gonna put on my oven mitts and remove it from the double boiler. This is where you want to add your scents in. So I'm gonna add in about 15 drops of this peppermint essential oil here. And then I'm gonna add in about a teaspoon of vanilla extract. It's just scenting it, so you don't have to be too careful with your measurements. Just make sure you like the smell as you're putting it in the fridge. That smells really good. Now we're gonna let that sit in the fridge for a little bit. I'm not sure how long. I'm gonna keep an eye on it and check it about every 10 to 20 minutes. But when it starts to become a little bit firm, kind of like frosting where you could dip your finger in and it stays on your finger, we're gonna pull it back out and whip it up with some of our red food coloring so that we can get it packaged up really pretty. So this is about the consistency you're looking for. Some starting to get solid, and if I were to dip my finger in, it's pretty thick and would stay on my finger really well. I'm gonna add in my food coloring just to turn it a little bit more pink. So this will continue to firm up, but I think it's a little bit easier to get into my smaller jars when it's a little bit more liquidy than when it's like fully solid. And I found these cute little mason jars that I'm gonna be putting mine into. I'm gonna use this little funnel to help me keep it clean. And I did not do this, but one thing that could look really cute is if you were to color some red and leave some white, and you could layer it like an actual candy cane. And it smells amazing. So I think everyone will really like this.
All right, so for my gift, I decided to utilize something that we have in our house. So as you can see, I'm in my basement. We just did some DIY framing. So I had a ton of extra 2x4s. I had a whole pile back here of random cuts. And so I decided to say, what can I do with 2x4s? What about building a homemade giant Jenga set? What a cool way I can reutilize pieces of wood that I've already used. And so essentially what you need, well, first off, you need to have enough wood, right? The cuts are gonna be, this is 2x4, it's actually 3.5 inches wide. So 3.5 inches, 3 times is roughly 10.5 inches. So I needed make a 2x4 cut, 10.5 inches. I personally chose to do 18 levels. That's what comes with a regulation Jenga set. That's 3 times 18, 54 cuts. Luckily, I had about half of them that were already pretty much the right length. So I only did half of them. What I'm gonna do next is sand them all so that the rough edges are nice and smooth. I thought about maybe doing a nice clear coat of sealant on it, but I figured I would just leave it nice and raw because, again, this is part of our a white elephant gift, so it's not supposed to take too much time and not supposed to cost me really anything. So all it really cost me was probably about half an hour of cutting and about another half an hour of sanding, and there you go. You're gonna have a nice, beautiful, homemade giant Jenga set. Hi, thank you so much. Oh, it's so good, thank you. A resident barista here.
So now we're gonna start working on our cinnamon raisin loaf of bread. And first confession is I've actually never used a bread machine before. I've always made my sourdough either with a no knead recipe where you just do stretch and folds with your hands, or with my handy dandy KitchenAid mixer and the dough paddle attachment. So this will be an experiment. I'm kind of excited to give this a try. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add everything into this bread loaf pan. We're gonna start by adding 3/4 of a cup of water. And then we're gonna add in a 1/4 cup of coconut oil and a 1/4 cup of honey. And I would say I normally would double this recipe to make 2 loaves, but because I'm unsure how it's gonna turn out in my bread machine, we're gonna stick with just 1 today. And the next thing we're gonna add is sourdough starter. And I did wanna give you a good close-up of what a healthy, ready-to-use sourdough starter is gonna look like. I just use an old pickle jar for mine, but it's gonna be really bubbly and foamy. I fed it this morning with water and flour. It's going to almost double in volume. And we're gonna add a 1/2 cup of this. And the last thing I'm gonna add is my 3½ cups of flour and 1/2 tablespoon of salt. And if you're new to sourdough, don't be intimidated. I put off starting my sourdough starter for the longest time because all of these content creators just made it seem like it was this super exact science. And honestly, it's very durable, it's very flexible, and it's really, really healthy. And if you're not aware, the reason so many people are doing sourdough nowadays is because of the bacteria in the sourdough. It has the ability to break down a lot of the gluten. So if you're somebody that's kind of sensitive to gluten or just really wants the benefits of the probiotic effects that these bacteria have, it's just a lot easier to digest. And it's a lot cheaper because it just takes a little bit of flour and water to feed your starter. And you don't have to run to the store to get yeast every time you want to make bread. Now that I've got all the ingredients in my loaf portion of my bread maker, I'm going to actually insert it into my machine and hit the knead function on it. While that's kneading, I'm gonna go ahead and get my raisins ready for the mix as well. And I'm getting my water nice and hot, and I'm gonna pour boiling water on them and just let them sit here overnight. All right, so it's the next morning. Our dough has risen beautifully overnight. It's about doubled. And we are gonna roll out this dough. You want another bite? You're doing a good job, sweetie. Then we're gonna sprinkle it with some brown sugar, some cinnamon, and some raisins. And maybe you eat a little bit more as you go too. Make sure it tastes good at each stage of the way, you know? This for a healthier breakfast, I'd go on the lighter side. We're gonna sprinkle on some cinnamon.
I have it.
Roll this up.
I do it. Oh no!
We're gonna pinch the ends.
Drop it! Drop it!
And then you're gonna put it in your loaf pan to do a second rise. So you're gonna leave it in this loaf pan anywhere from 4 to 8 hours. So I'm probably gonna do it for about 4 and bake it this afternoon when we come home from church. So now that your bread is fully baked, it looks delicious. Totally optional stuff, but I'm gonna add some icing because this is a gift and I just really want it to be extra special. So I just mixed up some powdered sugar. I always put it through a nice little sieve so there's no lumps, and added in some milk. And now I'm just gonna drizzle this over the top.